As a leader who has appointed a lot of people into leadership roles, what do I want to hear in their interview? So congratulations, you got an interview for a leadership role. What do you think you need to be talking about in that interview to show that as someone who really wants to be a leader, you've got what it takes? You have come to the right place. Today I'm going to share with you 3 major things that I want to hear from an aspiring leader in an interview. For those of you who are new to my channel, welcome. I'm Nikki. I've been in leadership for 17 years, from leading 2 people to leading over 300 people on various different locations and leading leaders. The first thing I want to hear from someone who isn't currently a leader but really wants to be a leader is what they have been doing in their own time to build their own leadership skills. Now that could be formal qualifications, it could be watching lots of videos, reading books, TED Talks. It doesn't really matter. It's more about how much effort have they put in over the last 6 months to show that they really want to get on that path to leadership. I usually advise aspiring leaders to identify skill gaps that they know that they have. So it could be that they haven't ever managed performance before. It could be that they don't know how to deal with individuals that might have well-being challenges or how to manage leave. There is so much information that you can get online for free around how to build lots of different skills that come with being a leader. So as soon as you've identified what it is that you need to build your skills in, you can quite quickly find a ton of information and videos and get yourself up to speed on some scenarios that you may face as a leader and how others might have dealt with that. So in an interview, I want to hear about what they've done to pick up some skills and what they're currently looking at now. So what are they learning right now to build their own profile as a leader? And what does that look like in terms of a weekly schedule? So I wouldn't be saying I spent 2 hours last month on doing X and Y. I'd want to be hearing, so every Tuesday afternoon I have scheduled in my diary, as agreed with my leader, an hour of personal development time, and I spend that time doing this. Or on Wednesday nights my partner goes out and I spend 30 minutes or 40 minutes reading into this. This really shows that you're prepared to spend time being committed to building your leadership and that it's really something that means something to you. And it's not something that you've just started doing because you saw the role advertised. It's something you've been maintaining for months. It also shows passion and grit. It shows that you're determined to get to the goal of being a leader. The next thing I want to hear is a compelling story of why they even want to be a leader. It could be someone that they aspire to themselves and they want to be like them and emulate what they're doing. It could equally be that they haven't had great leaders and they've seen the impact of that and they want to show that they can do better than that and help other people who maybe felt the way that they did when they were working with that leader. Whatever the story is that you have that inspired you to be a leader, that is what I want to hear. Now, this is also a little bit of a screening tactic because some people will say quite generic answers to this. They will have somebody who is a famous leader and they say, I want to be like that person, highlighting that it's the power and prestige of being a leader and what that person has achieved, rather than something that has actually deeply affected them and really driven them to be a leader. So think about the why. Why do you really want to be a leader? Why is it that you decided that you wanted to get on that path? The final thing I want to hear is, what do you think makes a great leader? This is really important because it will highlight what they think a great leader is and perhaps show how they're going to be in the leadership role. I always try to dig a bit deeper in this question and try and get some examples of how they might handle certain types of situation as a leader, because that also highlights how they really are going to be in that role. Just about every answer to this question will be completely different depending on the person who's been interviewed, and it will also be depending on what it is that I'm really looking for in a leader. So sometimes I have a team that really needs to drive performance and that is the focus. So I want to hear how they would deal with performance. Or it could be that the team really needs more engagement and they're lacking a bit of life, and I want to hear how they're going to build a team culture to drive engagement. So in terms for preparing for that interview question, I think about who I have had as great leaders there's one person in particular who was a great communicator. In front of a crowd, one-on-one, whatever style, just nailed it. And also really decisive. They could make decisions in the moment, but they could also turn the decisions around to the people that were with them so that they were actually ending up taking ownership of those decisions, which when you understood it a little bit more and watched it in practice, I realized it was actually about delegation. They were just really good at communicating with people, so they felt like, I'm not being told what to do by this person. I'm actually being given the opportunity and ownership over a situation, and weren't afraid to say, actually, that sounds like a much better idea. Let's go with that. It really showed the confidence to be humble around accepting that they didn't know all the answers, and also the courage to say, yeah, that's great, I didn't think of that. I've found thinking about what I admire in leadership and what I want to emulate is usually how I steer my own leadership. I've had a number of different leaders, and there's just a few that stick out to me that have been a great inspiration for me in my leadership journey, and I often reflect on them and what they did and the examples that they showed me of how I want to be as a leader. To help frame up how you answer questions in an interview, I like to use the STAR method. This method is very well known, and if you Google it, you'll find lots of different examples of how you can put it into practice, but I find it really useful. It guides your answers in a way that give you a clear outcome. So for the person that's listening to you, it gives a really clear structure to how you're answering the question. So S stands for situation. You start by establishing the situation or the example and the details. T stands for task, so you recount the task and your responsibilities in that. A stands for action, where you describe step by step what your actions were that you took for that situation, and R is the result. You end on the outcome that came from what that situation was. So that wraps up what I want to hear from aspiring leaders in an interview. This won't be the same for everyone, but hopefully this will give you some tips and ideas when you come into an interview yourself around how you can handle that interview and get that leadership job. Thanks very much for watching. Subscribe for more on leadership, and I'll see you in the next one.